I know you don't like me saying this. I also don't like saying this. If it's your first time you're just seeing this show, I give you for free. You don't need to subscribe. But if it is your second time or any time, I endeavor you to please subscribe to our channel. We see it's just like a donation, and the more you guys subscribe, the more we get to reach all these people. And if you can just do that, me and my team, we're going to give you the best podcast. Thank you very much. You've spent over 2 decades in the steel industry before pivoting. What made you step away, and what gap were you trying to fill?
It's a good question. I spent 20 years, I guess a little bit about me is I guess I followed in my father's footsteps. My father started in the steelmaking industry.
Okay.
As a young teen, I jumped right into it, didn't go to school like most people. I finished high school and just went into the steel industry. Realized early on that I didn't belong and it wasn't for me, but I stayed because obviously it was a very good income and it was a very good career
Okay.
and moved up the ranks very fast. Why did I pivot? I went back to school in my 30s and reinvented myself and found that I wasn't aligned with what I was doing. And now it's more about impact than money and those types of things. So I decided to pivot, obviously, because to align more with my core and my values and who I really was, and that just didn't put me in a small little peg of being in the steel industry. It gave me the chance to help others and multiple organizations, not just the one that I worked for.
That's amazing. So that's amazing. You know, John, I really know you, but my audience don't really know who John is. So who are you? I just want you to introduce yourself to the audience.
My name's John, simple guy from Canada, born and raised in Regina, Saskatchewan. Who am I? I guess I'm a father of a wonderful daughter, husband to a wonderful wife. I'm about helping people, and not only that, is I've learned through my life lessons. I've fallen and keep getting back up, and that's the kind of the message. That's who I am. Is I grow 1% at a time. I've done that as personally on a personal level, and obviously I've helped corporations do it on a professional and a corporate level.
Who is Jon Neumann? For over 2 decades, he worked inside one of the most circular steel companies on the planet, a high performer in the system. But Jon saw something others didn't, that good intentions were being buried under broken culture, outdated leadership, and performative strategies. So he pivoted, not into another job, but into a mission. Today, he builds systems where sustainability isn't a sticker. It's part of the DNA. His work has helped companies cut carbon emissions by over 20%, save more than $100 million annually, boost team performance, and increase employee engagement. But Jon's legacy isn't built on numbers alone. It's built on impact, accountability, and the belief that every single day is an opportunity to grow, just 1% better than yesterday.
That's great, John. So why do so many organizations treat ESG like a boss taking or PR exercise? Why do they try to do something like that?
Well, I think first of all, ESG is something that companies it revolves around a reporting framework that's tied to their financial performance, their 10K, their yearly tax return. And now governments and agencies are kind of mandating those types of changes. So that's why they're checking boxes almost because they have to. The other thing, I guess, is there's not a clear framework standard for international. There's a lot of different jurisdictions that overlap each other, so there's a lot of confusion still. So I think they're also adapting just as the world's adapting. Um, and I think the big one is change. No one likes to change.
There's this time I normally go to the gym. When I go to the first time, second time, the first week, the second, third week, I run away. I know you also feeling something like that as well. You feel so much pain, you don't get motivated. You feel like the trainer just want to kill me with different kind of reps. Do you know what you are lacking? You are lacking something that I'm going to share with you today. As you can see, I'm putting on a weird, big D fitness wear. Only big boys rock big D fitness wear. What are the big boys I'm talking about? I'm not talking about those billionaires, I'm not talking about millionaires. I'm talking about people that really set their mind in something and achieve it. And why or how did they achieve it? It's because they are rocking this wear. And let me tell you something you don't really understand. There is something attached to this fear. You get motivated. You know, you get motivated by what? By utmost spirit. I don't know where the spirit is coming from. Because I've been consistent in the gym since I've been rocking this way. And one thing I could just tell you is this. I just want you to understand something. Anything you set your mind into and you are not able to achieve it, you are not a big boy. And what people don't really understand, they thought maybe you going to the gym, you stressing muscle, you having six pack. That is just the external factor of going to the gym. You going to the gym, you feel pain the first day, the second, the third, the first month, second month, you're still going. It shows how you have been consistent and it's going to expand to everything you're doing in your life. And how can you be consistent? You can only be consistent when you rock big fitness wear. There's nothing you can do about it. And that is why I'm sharing with you. This is their link. This is their WhatsApp number. You can reach them. You can reach them. Instead of from Moonword Podcast, you get 20% discount from anything you purchase from the store.
Especially a lot of businesses look at earnings per share, and they tie it to their cash performance, and they see ESG as an unexpected and unrelated cost, but when very much it's not. You look at businesses in on the coast of the United States or by water. We have water is rising. That's a threat to your business. So very
Yeah.
much it's very much a part of the corporation's DNA. It's just I just don't. I think they're stuck and they don't know how to change, because change management is not an easy thing, and changing the status quo is really hard, and getting that buy-in and that pushback from your stakeholders is a challenging endeavor.
For people who doesn't know what ESG means, can you just explain brief what ESG really means, John?
So, it stands for environmental, social, and governance. So, obviously, the environmental impact we can see. We can see it outside. We can feel it when we walk out our doors, or that it's hotter. It's temperatures rising, things like that. Those environmental things. The social impact. People at work, the Me Too movement, DEI, gender, diversity, inclusion, equity, justice, belonging. Those types of things fall into the social. Your pay, equity at work, women leadership, those types of things. And then governance. Governance has always been around. That's just your policies and procedures and your guidelines to kind of have a systematic approach to it.
That's amazing, John. So this is one question that has been in my mind for a very long time. So what's broken in how companies approach sustainability and accountability?
What's broken? I think what's broken is the fear to change.
The fear
I
to
think
change.
fear to change. I think leadership. A lot of leadership and organizations view failure as a weakness, where in order to succeed, you have to fail. What was the second part of that question, John?
Accountability.
There's the prime. No one likes to admit they're wrong, and I think that's it comes back to leadership. And when I say leadership, I'm really even going to say go a step further and talk about emotional, intelligent leadership. People that are empathetic to their employees. You have those safe workspaces for your team to kind of collaborate. Those aren't easy to create. They're very challenging. They take a lot of emotional intelligence from leadership, and sometimes that's very much lacking because of that reluctancy to change and change the way. You always hear that common phrase, "We've been doing it like this for 30 years."
Mm-hmm.
That's right. We've been putting our pants on the same way, but sometimes you have to get better at the way you put your pants on. Just because you've been doing it for 30 years doesn't make it the right chance. You have to look and say, hey, can I do this better? And if I can,
Yeah.
how? And that's where that 1% comes in. And it gets uncomfortable because it's change, and you're not always going to hit the home runs. You have to celebrate those small wins and let them
Yeah.
compound to really get the big brunt of it.
Yeah, that's true. So you said something about fear. So I'm thinking about how can an individual or a company overcome that fear? How can they practically overcome the fear?
Well, in a personal sense, I think it's fear is obviously something that we all struggle with on a human level. I think it's If you want to grow, you know that you have to get uncomfortable. You know, you have to
Mhm.
put in the work. Things aren't going to come easy, and sometimes, you know, you're going to have to go through the storm in order to see the sunlight. Sometimes, right?
That's
I
true.
guess is the
Yeah.
best way. And that it's very similar in your personal and corporate. Very similar that fear of failure. I think Winston Churchill said that success is going from failure to failure with a smile on your face. You know, that's a profound quote. And you know, fear is it keeps a lot of people stagnant in life because they're scared of something.
Mhm.
Um, and the only thing that you have control of is you, is ourselves. The other things are external forces. So I think fear holds people back because they don't know. Um, they're maybe self confidence, self worth, those types of psyches probably play a little bit into play. And on a corporate level, I think those same sort of personalities take place because we have lives at home and we have lives outside of home, and we take them to our offices or our jobs, and
Yeah.
a lot of that stuff there. And I think in corporations, there's a lot of fear to speak up. If someone has a wrong idea, but they're your boss, it's sometimes maybe not acceptable to challenge that. Where the teams that really grow, they have those safe environments where they can collaborate and say, John, you were wrong. I think this idea is better. And you work as a team and say, you know what, you're right. I missed that.
Mhm.
There's a famous quote by he's a hedge fund investor, or he founded Bridgewater Associates. His name is Ray Dalio, and it's 1 + 1 = 3. And it's a simple terminology, and we'll use me and you, John. Is I can go and do something by myself, fair enough. But when me and
Okay.
you do it, we create that extra power because of we see each other's blind spots. When we collaborate, there's things that we miss that we can see, and that creates that extra synergy.
That's true.
Sometimes a lot of corporations, obviously, you have bigger teams. Sometimes, usually, you have a top-down hierarchy where the CEO calls all the shots, and the frontline employees kind of listen. That narrative is old and archaic. It doesn't work anymore in today's generation, and it's why a lot of companies struggle because you still have that guy at the top making the decisions, or that woman in the C-suite making those decisions. When the people at the front line and the communities, they're the ones that are going to tell you what they need and what they want. And
Yes.
obviously, when you meet with your business leaders and your senior leadership team, and you have all those answers and you have that passion and that culture from people, the ending is endless of the
Then
possibilities. But it comes down to collaboration and having those safe spaces to really challenge that status quo and change. Because, like I said it before, change is not easy.
it's not easy. I know. Yeah. That's amazing, John. That's amazing. So you've built a framework that delivers results. Could you share some of the specific outcomes you've seen around emissions, cost saving, engagement, or performance? Can you just share with me?
Well, the big systems that I've seen obviously is 1% in growth, and that's personal and professional. But on the professional side, I think it's getting buy-in. It's having those tough conversations with all the stakeholders,
Okay.
um, looking at what's needed, and getting a strategy of what we need to do to get in place, and realizing that you're not going to get all of them. You may fail, you may run into some roadblocks, and that's okay. That's why you have the power of the team to rally there and get those wins, and think outside the box, color outside those lines, be creative, right? With things that you want. I've seen the steel sector in Canada lower its emissions. By doing those small little things. Obviously, some things cost a lot of money, and it comes down to continuous improvement, and that's the 1% mindset. Continuous improvement's been a big part. You hear those key phrases like Six Sigma, Lean, Kaizen. Those are very much around 1% mindset and getting better at what you do and finding the inefficiencies in your processes to really get better at your day-to-day business. And obviously that obviously improves your bottom line and your money. But when you include the power of your community and your stakeholders and all your employees embedded in those decisions at the corporate level, you create something very powerful. You create buy-in, and it's the systems that I've really seen move the needle are the ones where culture, and that word is a really misinterpreted word. Culture is almost like the heartbeat of your organization, and it's where people feel they're included. They have a voice. They can, if they think that the CEO is wrong, they can go up to that CEO and say, you know what, I think this is a better idea, and you can sit there and talk about it, and maybe figure out you were wrong, or leaders delegating and developing their employees, and just that camaraderie amongst workers, professionals, and especially in their professional lives and the organizations that they work in, is having that team atmosphere where they feel that they can be their true selves. They don't have to hide behind anything. As if they feel that something isn't right, they can really put their hand up. Those are the systems that really drive those needles. Um, it's the problem that we have probably in the ESG space, is because a lot of that still doesn't exist. We still have that top down, um, checking boxes. Actions always speak louder than words, and you can put anything you want on a wall. People have to believe it. Once people believe it and are passionate about it, and they feel they belong to that mission and that vision, that's a powerful force.
Yeah, that's true. That's a powerful force. Yeah. So I'm thinking about, like I always tell you, like I'm very passionate about helping people, helping life, creating solutions to your problem. So for someone listening right now, maybe they run a small business, a school, or a social enterprise. What are the two or three things they can do this week to start embedding sustainability and leadership culture into their daily system?
I think having conversations with the people, your stakeholders, your employees, your communities, your customers. Stakeholders is a really broad term. I think it's meeting with them. I think it's finding inefficiencies in how your business operates, and willing to change those inefficiencies and working together, because you're not going to get results in the first week. Some things are very small and you might get results, but some things are going to take that compounding effect and you might not see it. So, and I guess it's sticking with it even when it gets hard. It's the uncomfortable part is you have to stick with it because it's change and it's new. um, Building great habits. I said culture earlier. That's the behavior, and
Mm-hmm.
showing that culture is the behavior and that passion is okay, and challenging the status quo with a group of people is a really powerful thing.
Okay.
um and I would tell companies to lean into their people. Put
Bro, can you just
even
hey John, please can you just repeat what you said now?
lean into their people,
Okay.
their community. And I think when you really put people over profits, and those stakeholders see that, I think great things really happen. um the world's tough out there, and it's getting tougher and tougher. And I
Okay.
think
That's good.
there's no I in team, and the power is always with numbers. Remember, I said that 1 + 1 = 3. When you have a group of 50 people, that number gets larger because you have that collaboration, and it's sitting down with those people, having those uncomfortable conversations, figuring out what you want to do, and then also including them in how you're going to get there.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to have all the answers. As a leader, that's not your job. Your leader is to be there to help support your team. That's leadership. Leadership is a people skill. Management is systems and processes, and they aren't necessarily the same. And leadership is really about being passionate about your team, but inspiring them, and being there,
Inspiring.
and creating those really safe spaces for your team to thrive in, developing them, delegating tasks that push them. It's work that you might have done, but give it to somebody else to kind of help them grow themselves in a professional sense. And then as for sustainability goals, yeah, it comes down to hearing the people's voices, what they need, what they want, and how that obviously aligns with your business fundamentals and what you want to do as a business for the next 1, 3, 5 years. And then having them as a group, um, developing a plan. It would be like creating a family plan, John. You wouldn't just
Mm-hmm.
do it with the dad doing it. You'd have the whole family present to create the family plan and have everyone's voice heard. That same type of, and it's a bad, I know family is a bad term to use in terms of corporate, but it gives you the kind of the ideas, is you want to have those same conversations with your team, and have really those vulnerable spaces where you can challenge one another and find out the best ways.
Yeah, that's
And because one person isn't going to have all the answers.
that's true. That's true. So I want to talk about individual. The last time we had a conversation, you were able to provide me a solution. The solution really worked for me. I really wanted to work for my audience too. For someone who always have difficulties engaging in his daily routine, and he's been trying all his best to become something better, but all of a sudden he's unable to achieve just one goal in a day. What are the practical things that person can engage in this week to change everything all around for him in a very positive way?
To change, it comes belief. You got to believe there, and you got to believe here.
Okay.
It comes there, and I think it comes to, you have to look at what's holding you back, and you have to do the internal work and really look at yourself and realize what you can control. Because you only can control yourself. You can't control the outside things around you. You only can control how you show up, right? So for me, the first thing I would tell people struggling in life is look at your bad habits that you have, whether it's using your phone too much, you know, social media, all those vices, drinking, those types of things, and replace them with good things. Get a good night's sleep. Have a bedtime routine. Have some exercise in your life. Read. Be a continuous learner. Maybe seek therapy, depending on if you have mental health issues. Talk about those hard things. Don't just bottle them up. The other thing is, is we're all scared. I don't think you're ever going to hear anyone that's made it in life tell you that they didn't have struggles. Everybody puts on their pants the same way every day, and they just have different journeys. And I guess the biggest thing for me when I was a teen, one of the biggest things that ever helped me was I stopped measuring from other people's rulers. I just measured from my own. And that was where I kind of developed that 1% mindset. Was it doesn't matter what this guy's doing or that person's doing. All that really matters is what I'm doing. I can't compare myself because there's nothing to compare to. We're not the same person.
That's
No
true.
one's alike. No one's alike. And it's just focusing on your strengths and weaknesses and what you can do to show up better for yourself. And once you show up better for yourself, you'll show up for better for people around you. And you mentioned earlier how we had a talk and I helped you with things. And I think you said that you applied some of those things and you saw very shortly how that you were able to show up better for other people because you were showing up better for yourself.
That's true.
And people have bad habits. Perfection only exists in the dictionary. You cannot be perfect. It's a word in the dictionary and that's it. We're going to make mistakes. The best thing to do is to learn from them and use what you learned, get up and apply them the next chance that you have. And success is, like I said, it's failure after failure. And eventually you do have that door that opens up. And they all
That's
look
true.
different for everybody. What success means, I could ask you what success means, and you would have probably a different answer than what I would. But it's being true to yourself and your upbringing, where you came from, your values, what you value, what you believe, and what you think about yourself. And I guess the question I always tell people to ask themselves is, say, why not me? A lot of
Why
people
not
will say,
me?
well, I can't. A lot of people will say that I can't do that, and I say, well, switch that around and say, why can't I have that? Why not me? It's a positive mindset. When you're negative, your mental space is negative, is you need to really flip that script and have a positive mindset. And I really believe a positive mindset and a grateful heart will truly open up a lot of doors that we think are unmanageable. But it takes time, and a lot of patience is a tough thing that a lot of people struggle with. And you need to be patient. Some of these processes could take long. If you have bad habits that you've been doing for years, they're not going to change overnight.
Mm-hmm.
To build a new habit takes anywhere from 30 to 90 days. And it's consistency, and that's really what it is. It's showing up every day and living your life, and asking for help along the way, seeing what's there, and really working on yourself to become a better person. And I always say is, In kindergarten, we're taught how to share, care, and be kind in the golden rule. And I think those rules really apply as we become adults. We kind of forget those simple core fundamentals that we were taught as youngsters. That's some of the best education I ever got was my kindergarten teacher, because those things help me not only help myself but help others, because that golden rule is a powerful thing still to this day to me. Treat people as I want to be treated.
Mhm. That's very true. So you've said everything, right? So I'm thinking about, okay, I want to create a new habit to overcome the bad habit. You understand? How can I set boundaries? You know, let's say I normally stay late press my phone just because maybe my girlfriend works, and when she gets back from from work, she needs to talk to me. You know, if I try to set the boundaries, it might look as if on our own side maybe I'm cheating on her or something like that. You know, most of those things cause misunderstanding. How can I set boundaries in a very amicably way that would cause any misunderstanding? You know,
I
I'm just trying to understand. You know, don't just go ahead, just tell me how can I set boundaries.
How can you set boundaries in a good? Well, I guess you have to look at what is it doing to you. Is it affecting you? And if it's affecting you, then obviously you have to have a conversation. But you remember, the conversation is two ways. There's you and another person. So you have to
Mhm.
think about their feelings too. Remember, I said the golden rule: treat others as you want to be treated.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Have it come somewhere from a sympathetic heart, and realize they might not want to hear what you have to say. It might hurt them a little bit because they maybe want that time or whatever the case may be. Um, I'll give you a common one: setting boundaries. A lot of people always say yes to everything,
Mm-hmm.
right? Someone asks them to do, they'll be yes, 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 and
Yes,
eventually they
yes,
have
right.
no time for themselves. And then eventually, when people actually find that power to say no and set that boundary and say, you know what, I'll do these things because I like doing them, but these other things I don't really like doing. I'm going to start saying no, especially on your in your professional life or your personal life. But you have to sit there and I guess have that conversation, but have it with an empathetic heart. Actively listen and listen to their side, but also explain, this is what this is affecting me in this way, and this is why I need to do it this because it's going to help me. Um, Now, boundaries are a tough thing to do and to
Mm-hmm.
set, but they're also a healthy way, because you have to protect yourself first and foremost and look after yourself and keep your energy. And if you're giving your energy away to others and you aren't being able to keep some of that energy for yourself, well, that's a simple indication that you have to have some sort of boundary setting on a personal or professional level. And usually, a lot of the times, you see the boundaries, you do see them personal, but a lot of people do it professionally. Is work with your boss, you want to get promoted, you keep saying yes, 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 and then eventually you're working extra hours, you're burnt out, you're not seeing your family, because you're giving all your energy to something because you're hoping for a promotion or something. And that's where you have to sit down and have those vulnerable conversations with people. Um, but have it come from a soft place, and it comes in your delivery, your tone of your voice, your body
Mm-hmm.
language. Those types of things are very helpful. Um, and also listen to what they're saying. Don't just listen to respond. Because that's a bad habit too. Though I'm guilty of it too. Sometimes I listen to respond, and I have to always be mindful of that. We're not perfect, but it
Mm,
comes
that's
into
lovely.
delivery, and it comes into what we want for ourselves. We know ourselves better than anybody.
Yes,
And if
sure. That's
something's if something's not working and something's making you a little bit resentful or guilty of that, for being your true self, the best thing to do is to obviously address it. And maybe you don't have to set a boundary, but maybe you have to have a conversation. And if that conversation has to happen a couple of times, well, then 100% you need to set a boundary. And sometimes, when you're doing someone else's work, for example, and you start saying no, they're not going to necessarily like that right
that's
away.
true.
But they'll probably understand that, hey, you know what? Okay, I get it. They don't want to do this because they don't like doing it. It's not their weak. It's not their strength. It's not their weakness. Whatever the case may be. But boundaries are a personal thing, and it's protecting our energy and filling our own, making sure that our personal cup is full. And that goes really back to, if you can't give for yourself, how can you give to others?
That's true.
Is you have to look after yourself, and you also have to look after others, and if that energy is being stolen or taken away from you, is kind of reclaim it back if you feel that that's the case. And it's that everyone has different circumstances. Everyone's cut from a different cloth, and you have to really do that internal looking inwards at yourself to what you really want, what you value, and what you need. And if those things are interfering in those things, is you have to somehow address them, but address them in a really positive manner and empathetic, because and hear them out. And sometimes it might take compromise on your side too, because they may see things in another way, right? And so it's,
Yeah.
especially with your girlfriend, for example, right? That's a relationship. So hear them out. Don't just have an answer, because you might not have the right answer. She might have a better answer or a better
That's true.
alternative that works for both of you. And and,
That's
and
true.
it's and it comes to really having that conversation. And no one likes having those tough conversations because we're scared of the outcomes after.
Uh-huh. That's
But
true.
but it's how you tackle if you tackle the conversation with a negative mindset, you're probably going to get a negative outcome. Now, if you flip it and have a positive mindset, and you remain in a positive attitude, empathetic, and all those types of things, a lot of the times you're going to have a positive outcome where both people or parties are going to feel very happy with how it happened, and might
Uh-huh.
even like the change better.
That's true. That's true. That's amazing, John. So, I'm this kind of person. What I'm trying to do is for the younger generation coming behind we. You understand? So I just want to lay something good for those people. The mistake I made when I was a teenager, I don't want those people coming behind me to make some mistake. That is that is one of the reasons for this podcast. So, what should aspiring leaders be focusing on if they want to lead with sustainability and performance in mind? What should they focus on?
1% showing up, 1% growth, um, tackling the hard stuff, having those comfortable conversations, looking back at where you were and where you want to go, and obviously making those tweaks as you go. There's
Mm-hmm.
no right or wrong answer. Everyone has their own journey, but I think it's embracing that journey. And the most important thing is learning from those bad mistakes and turning them around. And obviously, you said you want to help them. Is young kids reaching out to people older, asking for mentorship or for help, and for older people, um, helping for helping without expecting anything in return, giving back.
Oh.
Um,
Mm.
those are important sentiments to people, and that's how people learn. Um, you know, and it's having those tough conversations with them, especially the younger generation, saying, "Hey, I made that same mistake when I was your age, and this is what I learned." That goes a long way. You've just saved them a lot of pain and heartache, maybe potentially, if they listen to you. But sometimes they don't have that, where no one comes up to them and says that, and they don't know, and they go out and they learn the hard way. Um, and I guess it's having that role model out there to be that role model that you're trying to be for the younger generation. And it's for the younger generation to the best thing I can always tell people is you're never going to know unless you ask.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's true.
It's a
So,
hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to ask for help. But when you think about it, is no one's necessarily going to offer you help because they don't know that you need it.
so you need to ask. You need to open your mouth and ask. That's good. I'm listening, John. I'm listening.
No, no, what?
So, just like someone, there was this time I saw this person. You know, I know deep down in my mind, I knew that this person needed help, but he wasn't asking. He wasn't asking. So I was like, how can I approach this kind of person to help? You know, but I had to send someone to try to help him. But the person said he never needed help. You know, he never needed help. In the long run, I later heard that the person was caught stealing. You know, most of the time, maybe people are very ashamed to ask for help. How can they? How can someone who is a little bit shy, they are not bold to ask people for help? How can they overcome that that spirit of being shy?
Being shy is a tough one, right? It's fear of failure, it's fear of rejection, it's a lot of those things. It comes really, I think, with internal work on yourself and recognizing that that is something that that you struggle with as you're being shy. Um, we're all shy to some capacity. We all have that
Mhm.
shyness in us as kids. Some are more introverted or extroverted, so some it's a little bit easier to overcome. How do you overcome? I think it's working on yourself. Everything comes, picture it like this, John. Is your foundation is your feet that sits on the ground, right? Is
Yeah, yeah.
you have to start with one brick and you keep adding bricks. And that's really how you work on yourself. It's not going to come overnight. You have to put in the work on yourself. It's I'll give you an example.
Okay.
Early in my career, I used to be really I used to get really anxious and shy speaking in really large rooms.
Okay.
Um, and it's not that I don't like talking. I just would get very nervous. My heart, and I noticed that, and I would start to stutter. I would talk really fast. I would fidget. I would put my hands in my pocket, and I would notice these things go. And as I was speaking, I would notice these things. Um, what I did to overcome it was I practiced. I would speak. I would give my speech, and I would speak in front of the mirror, and I would
Front of the
time
mirror.
myself. I would go up to my wife and ask. I would practice in front of her and ask for feedback, and I would say, I don't want the good feedback. I want to hear the bad stuff. I want to hear what I'm not doing right, or what they saw. Was I too loud? Was I too fast? So I think it's an internal reflection of yourself, and if you see those things, is doing work is not easy, but it takes the commitment and the consistency of working on yourself daily. It's not going to just the change isn't going to just come to you. You have to be gritty and you have to do the work, and that's the harsh thing in life. Is if you want anything in life, you have to work for it.
You have to, yeah, you definitely need to work for it. And lastly, John, for someone listening who feels stuck or unsure where to start, what's one small but powerful action they can take today to start leading responsibly? John, so,
Believing in yourself and realizing that tomorrow is a new day. Live in the present. Don't forget about yesterday. Today's a new day. And show up and ask yourself every day in the morning. But I can tell you what I do. I still to this day get up. When I get up in the morning, I brush my teeth, and the first person I see is myself in the mirror, and I tell myself I'm going to
mhm.
have a good day, and I give myself a high five in the mirror, and that's something that I learned from a book from Mel Robbins, and I've added that into my morning routine now. It's simple but effective, and then I ask myself is how am I going to show up 1% better today than yesterday? And then I think about that in the first probably hour that I'm up. And after I'm done my workout and my cold plunge and those types of things, I sit down and actually reflect on that. Okay, how am I going to show up 1% better? And when I put it as a smaller task, it's a lot easier to achieve.
Mhm.
If I set a big goal, it's really hard to achieve that. So if I set that one goal, and when I look back a month prior and I look at that goal, I see how far I've come because I've taken those small steps, and that's I think the best piece of information I can give anybody is think of it small, think of it with a positive mindset, be grateful. Always be grateful for what you have and what you're learning and who you're becoming because we're all unique. But yeah, that one thing that I would tell people is look at how you can think about today. That's why they call it the present. It's a gift. It's why
That's
it's the
amazing.
present is a gift. And look, don't worry about yesterday. Be consistent suit up, show up. You're not always going to be able to give 100%, and that's okay. You have to give 1% more each day. And that's really a profound thing. And as you compound it, you'll see a lot of great leaders in the world will tell you that mindset probably changed their lives, because nothing came easy. They had to work for it. And, a lot of success comes in the hours when no one sees what you're doing, and those sacrifices that you're making. And that's that 1% that no one gets to see sometimes. So yeah, if I had to say one thing that was powerful in action, is I would give myself a high five in the mirror every morning and ask myself, how am I going to show up 1% better? Not worry about what happened. You can't change what happened yesterday, but you can change what happens today.
That's amazing, John. So we just added this part of it to the podcast. I would love you to just, for my next guest coming to the show, what is that one question you would love to ask them? We are at the end of the show. Thank you for watching from the beginning to the end. And I know that you've learned one or two things, but I'd love to hear your take, both negative, both positive opinion about everything you've learned. I'd love you to drop it in the comment section. And by doing so, you are also spreading positivity to those people that are going to read it in the comment section. Thank you very much.
Moonword talk, Moonword talk, Moonword talk, Moonword talk, Moonword talk, Moonword talk. Yeah, we be the truth, be that light in the dark. Let the vibe come through, growth mindset, mind check. Yeah, we break the mold, had to hustle, build some struggle, turn that pain into gold. So done, but the grind don't stop. Scraps and tapping, let's rise to the top.